I never planned to see her again. Not like this. Not standing in her doorway, holding the weight of 10 unspoken years between us. The smell of rain drifted in from the street, and her voice, that low, calm tone I used to chase without realizing why, cut through the quiet. "Come in," she said as if it was nothing. But her fingers lingered too long on the doorknob, and for a moment I thought she might close it instead. Her name was Elena, my best friend's sister, the one who used to drive us to school, who once bandaged my hand when I was 14 and stupidly tried to impress her by fixing her bike chain. Back then, she'd laugh softly, call me a reckless kid. Now, years later, she wasn't laughing, and I wasn't a kid anymore. The house looked almost the same, framed photos, the same scent of cinnamon and coffee. But there was something quieter about it now, a stillness that clung to her like perfume. She wore a simple cream sweater, sleeves rolled halfway up her arms. Her hair, a little messy, streaked with the kind of gray that didn't dull beauty but deepened it, framed her face in a way that made looking away feel impossible. "So," she said, crossing her arms lightly. "You're back." "Yeah," I managed. "For a while." She nodded, eyes flickering down for just a second too long. "Your brother said you changed." "Did he?" I smiled faintly. "Guess that makes two of us." There was a silence, long, but not uncomfortable, like both of us were listening to what wasn't being said. I followed her into the kitchen. The same old clock ticked too loudly. A half-finished cup of coffee sat by the sink, cold now. She poured me some fresh, hands trembling just enough for me to notice. "I didn't think you'd visit," she said quietly. "I didn't plan to," I replied. "Then why did you?" I hesitated, fingers tightening around the mug. "Because I thought about that night." Her breath caught, barely audible but real. The rain hit harder against the windows. She didn't move, didn't speak, just turned slowly, eyes meeting mine with a look that felt halfway between warning and longing. "You shouldn't bring that up," she whispered. "We promised." "I didn't," I interrupted softly. "You did." Her lips parted, not in anger, but surprise, maybe even guilt. For a second, I saw the same flicker in her eyes I used to dream about, the one that came before she'd look away, pretending not to feel anything. But this time, she didn't look away. "I was 20, I said quietly. "You were older, wiser. You thought I'd forget. You were a boy," she murmured. "And I was lonely." Her voice cracked, the confession trembling on her breath. "Don't make me remember it." But I already had. Every small thing. The porch light that night. Her laughter. The warmth of her hand in mine. A moment that lasted longer than it should have. And now, standing here, the same electricity hummed beneath the quiet, as if time hadn't done its job at all. "Elena," I said softly, her name barely a sound. She closed her eyes, drew a slow breath, and whispered, "You still remember that night, don't you?" The clock ticked. The rain fell. Neither of us moved. Then, a sharp sound broke the stillness. Her phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting up with a name that made her expression shift, from softness to something unreadable. She turned the phone face down, lips trembling, and before she could speak, I asked, not sure I wanted the answer, "Is it him?" Her silence said everything. She didn't answer my question, just turned her back to me, staring out the kitchen window as the rain streamed down in crooked lines. Her reflection looked tired, not in the way people get from lack of sleep, but from carrying something too long without setting it down. "Elena, don't," she said quietly. "Not tonight." Her voice had that same restraint, soft but edged, like someone trying to keep control of a storm that was already inside them. I set the mug down and leaned against the counter, watching her shoulders rise and fall. I wanted to ask about the name on her phone, about the promises she said we shouldn't break, but the word stayed stuck somewhere behind my teeth. Instead, I said, "You're still wearing that bracelet." She glanced at her wrist, startled, a thin silver band with a single charm. The one I'd given her years ago on a night that wasn't supposed to mean anything. "I thought you wouldn't notice." "I notice everything about you," I said before I could stop myself. That made her laugh, soft, disbelieving. But she didn't move away. When I was younger, she was the untouchable one, my best friend's older sister, the woman who filled a room without trying. She was studying art back then, teaching part-time, while I was the kid who followed her around pretending to care about brush strokes and color palettes. She'd tell me, "You'll grow out of this crush." I didn't. And now, Standing here, I realized she hadn't either. Not completely. I heard you got married, I said finally, my voice low. She nodded once, eyes still on the rain. Separated. 3 years now. I waited for her to say more, but she didn't. Her hands rested on the sink, fingers tracing the rim of a chipped glass. I wondered if her ex still called sometimes. Maybe that's who had texted. Maybe not. I kept busy, she continued. Work, painting, taking care of my mother. It's easier that way. Easier than what? She hesitated. Then remembering, something in my chest tightened. She turned, finally meeting my gaze, and for the first time, I saw the weight she'd been hiding. Regret. Guilt. The same things I carried all these years, thinking I was alone in them. I wanted to reach for her, to tell her I never blamed her for anything. Not the distance, not the silence. But she looked so fragile, so careful with every word. I was afraid even kindness would break her. You shouldn't have come back, she whispered. Maybe not, I said. But I couldn't stay away anymore. Her eyes flicked toward me. A warning, a question, and something else beneath it. She stepped closer, slow, deliberate. Close enough that I could see the faint tremor in her breath. I still remember, I murmured. Every second. She didn't pull away this time. Her hand brushed mine. Accidental at first, then intentional. The touch was barely there, but it burned through every wall we'd built. Outside, thunder rolled, soft and distant. Inside, the silence stretched, full and trembling, like something waiting to break. The space between us felt electric, a single inch, too small to matter, too dangerous to ignore. Her hand still brushed mine, and I couldn't make myself move. Neither could she. Elena, you whispered. Her eyes darted up, soft, conflicted, searching. Don't, she breathed. Please, don't make this harder. But the way she said it, quiet, trembling, wasn't rejection. It was fear. The air hummed with something neither of us wanted to name. Every second stretched, heavy and unreal. Her pulse flickered in her neck. Mine thundered in my chest. One wrong breath and the world might shift for good. Then, a sharp knock broke through the silence. 3 quick raps. Familiar. Her eyes widened. Before she could finish, the door opened. Hey, Elena. It was Ryan, my best friend, her brother. He stepped inside like it was still his house, rain dripping from his jacket, keys jangling in his hand. I froze, my hand still halfway to hers. She pulled back so fast the distance hurt more than the touch itself. Ryan grinned when he saw me. You didn't tell me he was here already. Elena forced a smile. You just dropped by. I didn't know you were coming. Yeah, surprise visit, he said, grabbing a towel from the chair. Mom wanted me to check on you after the storm warning. My chest tightened. Mom, their mother, the one who used to tease me about following Elena around like a lost puppy. Ryan looked between us, suspicious for half a second, then shrugged it off. Man, it's been years. How long are you in town? Just a few days, I managed. Visiting. He clapped my shoulder, oblivious. Good. We should catch up. Give me a couple of drinks. Not tonight, though. I gotta head back. Elena poured him coffee, keeping her eyes down the whole time. She didn't look at me once. We finally left. The door closed with a soft click that sounded louder than thunder. The quiet that followed was unbearable. You shouldn't have touched me, she said, voice low, uneven. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. Her honesty hit like a blow. I didn't deny it. I can't, she whispered, shaking her head. Ryan would never forgive me. You're practically don't say it. She stopped, biting her lip. I'm not supposed to feel this way. Neither am I said. But here we are. She turned toward the window again, pressing her hand to the glass. Outside, the rain had slowed, but her reflection looked like it was drowning. I stepped closer, careful, hesitant. Tell me to go, and I will. She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, You always said you'd come back for me. I didn't think you meant it. I did, I said. I always did. Her shoulders trembled, just once before she turned around. We stood there again, too close, too aware, hearts beating out of sync, but drawn like magnets. Her lips parted, just enough to pull me closer. And then, her phone buzzed again. This time, the name on the screen made her go pale. She stared at it, frozen. I stepped closer, reading it before she could hide it. David, the husband she'd said she was separated from. Her eyes met mine, full of panic, guilt, and something worse. Wanted me anyway. The name on her phone burned into the air between us like a warning. David. Her hand hovered over the screen, trembling, then went still. The phone kept vibrating against the counter, loud and insistent, like it refused to be ignored. Answer it, I said quietly. She didn't move. The screen went dark. Silence again. Elena, don't, she said, her voice cracking. Please, don't look at me like that. I didn't know how else to look at her. Every inch of her, the fear, the guilt, the ache, it pulled me closer, even when I knew I should step away. I told you it was over, she whispered, like she was trying to convince herself. We signed papers, but he still calls. He doesn't believe me when I say I'm done. Because you never sound sure, I said. That made her flinch, not out of anger, but because it was true. She turned, facing me now, eyes bright with something raw. You think it's that easy? Walking away from a marriage? From the years I wasted trying to fix something that was already broken? I didn't answer. The storm outside had slowed, but inside it was just beginning. She stepped closer, her voice softer but sharper. You're young. You still think love is something you can fight for and win. It's not. It's something that leaves scars you don't see until it's too late. I took a breath. Then let me have the scars. Her eyes widened, a flicker of shock, then something else. She shook her head slowly, whispering, You don't know what you're asking for. I do, I said. I've known since that night. Her silence felt heavy. Then, like a confession slipping out by accident, she said, I never stopped thinking about it, either. The words hung there, fragile, final. She pressed a hand to her forehead, exhaling shakily. God, what are we doing? Maybe something real for once. Real. She laughed, a quiet, broken sound. You think this can be real? I'm your best friend's sister. I'm twice your age. I've already made enough mistakes to ruin 2 lives. I can't add yours to the list. I took a step forward anyway. You haven't ruined mine yet. Her breath hitched. She looked up, meeting my eyes, and something in her broke. The careful control, the restraint, the guilt, all of it cracked open. I can't keep pretending, she whispered. Then don't. I was close enough to feel the heat of her breath. Close enough to see the pulse racing in her throat. Her lips parted, just slightly, and she didn't move away this time. Neither did I. Every sound in the house faded, the ticking clock, the rain, the world outside. I leaned in slow, certain. Her eyes fluttered shut, and just before our lips met, the front door creaked open. Elena, Ryan's voice. Her brother. The air shattered. Ryan's voice froze her in place. She jerked back, just enough to break the tension, but not enough to hide the truth in her eyes. Ryan, she called, voice strained, half a whisper. You came back. He stepped into the doorway, hair damp from the rain, holding a forgotten jacket. Yeah, I left my phone in the car. Thought I'd grab it before the storm got worse. Then his eyes landed on me, and for the first time, I saw suspicion settle on his face. The silence between the 3 of us was too sharp. The air changed, colder, heavier. Everything okay here? He asked slowly. Elena forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yes, we were just catching up. Ryan's gaze flicked between us. You look pale, he said to her. And you, his eyes narrowed at me. You look like you've seen a ghost. I tried to speak, but my throat locked. Long day, I said finally. We were just talking about old times. Ryan nodded, still watching me. Old times, huh? Like when you used to follow her around with a sketchbook? He laughed, but it didn't sound amused. Elena's hand gripped the back of a chair, tight, white-knuckled. Ryan stopped. He tilted his head. What? I'm just saying some things never change. Then his tone dropped, quiet but cutting. You still remember that night too, don't you? My heart stopped. Elena went still, her lips parting, eyes wide with disbelief. How do you? She began, but he interrupted. I heard you, Ryan said, voice low and deliberate. Earlier, before I knocked. You said it yourself. He turned to me, jaw tightening. That night, the night you both pretended didn't happen. Elena's breath caught, a quiet sound that broke something in the room. Ryan looked between us, connecting dots I wished he wouldn't. You were just a kid, man. And you. He turned on her, his voice breaking. You knew better. Ryan, please, she started, but he stepped back, shaking his head. All this time, he said softly, I thought it was just my imagination. The way you looked at him. The way he avoided coming around. God, I defended you both. Elena reached for him, her voice trembling. It wasn't what you think. Then what was it? He asked. Because from where I'm standing, It looks exactly like what it shouldn't be. The words hit hard, echoing through the room. I tried to speak, but Elena's hand brushed mine, a silent plea. Don't. Ryan saw it. The touch. That small, devastating confirmation. He stepped back toward the door. You're not who I thought you were, he said to both of us. Ryan, wait, he didn't. The door slammed behind him, the sound like thunder. Elena's shoulders collapsed. She pressed both hands over her face, her voice breaking. He knows. God, he knows. I wanted to hold her, to tell her it would be okay. But the truth was it wasn't. And as the rain picked up again outside, I realized it never had been. Because now, what we tried to keep buried had finally come to light. And there was no going back. The silence after Ryan left was suffocating. Elena sank onto the sofa, her hands tangled in the folds of her sweater, eyes fixed somewhere beyond the rain-streaked window. I stood near the counter, feeling the distance that had never existed before stretch like a canyon between us. I ruined it, she whispered, voice raw, almost a plea. No, I said immediately. You didn't. She looked at me then, the shadows under her eyes deepening, lips trembling. Yes, I did. He's my brother. He trusted me. And now, her voice broke. I don't even know if I can look at you without thinking I betrayed him. I crossed the room slowly, keeping my hands where she could see but not touch, though every fiber of me ached to hold her. You didn't betray anyone. You followed your heart. You didn't plan for it to happen this way, but it did. And so did I. Her gaze flicked down, hesitant, trembling. I could see the storm inside her. Fear, guilt, desire, longing, all colliding. I shouldn't feel this, she said, voice small. I shouldn't want you. You do, I said softly. And I do too. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The rain tapped a quiet rhythm on the roof, like the only heartbeat in the room. Then she stood, slow, deliberate, and stepped closer. I could feel the warmth radiating from her, and my own resolve faltered. I'm scared, she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if this is right or selfish. I reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. Our fingers intertwined naturally, as if they'd always belonged together. We can be selfish, I said gently, just for a little while, just now. Her eyes searched mine, as though looking for permission to let herself feel. Then, finally, she nodded, a slow, trembling surrender. We moved closer, and the space between us disappeared. Her lips hovered near mine, breaths mingling, and the storm outside faded into insignificance. I've waited too long, I murmured. I know, she whispered back, voice shaking. And then a single, messy, perfect kiss. Not the polished, cinematic kind, but something real, flawed, human. Tentative at first, then sure, a confession that had no words strong enough to carry it. When we pulled apart, barely an inch, she rested her forehead against mine. We're idiots, she said softly. Completely reckless. Maybe, I replied, smiling against her hair. But finally honest. She laughed, a quiet, trembling sound, and I knew she meant it. For the first time in years, the tension that had lived between us wasn't guilt or longing. It was possibility. But the phone buzzed on the counter. David's name flashed again. And outside, the rain didn't stop. We were together, yes. But the world beyond that door hadn't disappeared. And I realized, love didn't erase the consequences. It just made them bearable. For now, that was enough. The morning came slow, filtered through rain-streaked windows, painting everything in soft, muted gold. Elena sat across from me at the kitchen table, a half-empty cup of coffee cooling between her fingers. I watched her, tracing the lines of her face with my eyes, memorizing again what I thought I'd never have the chance to see this closely. Last night, she began, voice tentative. It felt like something I shouldn't have allowed. I reached for her hand. It felt like something we both needed, I said. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the relief there, mingled with fear, still, but tempered by a fragile hope. We can't erase what's happened, she said softly. Ryan knows. David knows. Everyone knows, in one way or another. But her lips quivered, and she smiled faintly. I don't regret this. Not for a second. I smiled back, squeezing her hand. Neither do I. It's messy. It's complicated. But it's ours. She leaned back in her chair, stretching her fingers, and for a moment, we simply breathed together, listening to the quiet hum of the house. The storm had passed, leaving the world washed clean, and it felt like a promise, small, fragile, but real. "I never thought that this could happen," she whispered. "Not like this. Not with you." I tilted my head. "Why not?" "Because," she hesitated, biting her lip, and I waited patiently. "Because I thought love like this belonged only in stories. You know, the impossible kind." I laughed softly. "Maybe the impossible kind is the kind that's worth waiting for." Her hand brushed mine again, lingering this time, and I felt the tension of the past years melt slightly. We weren't perfect. We were two flawed people who had made mistakes, carried regrets, and stumbled through silences that lasted far too long. But here we were, choosing, finally, to let it matter anyway. "Elena," I said, voice low, "whatever happens next, whatever storms come, we face them together, right?" She nodded, a slow, deliberate movement. "Together." Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, scattering light across the street. The world beyond her door hadn't vanished, and we knew it never would. There would be questions, complications, awkward conversations. But for the first time, we didn't feel trapped by them. Instead, we felt something we hadn't allowed ourselves to feel in years: possibility. She leaned over the table, resting her forehead against mine. I rested mine against hers. And in that simple, unspoken gesture, every regret, every longing, every missed opportunity was reconciled. Not erased, but transformed into something human, real, and ours. We didn't need words. The quiet was enough. And as we sat there, hands entwined, hearts stubbornly aligned, I realized that sometimes love doesn't arrive perfectly. Sometimes it stumbles, hesitates, and waits years for the right moment. But when it comes, even just for a breath, it's worth everything. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?